Anna is an award-winning leader, coach and speaker, and a culture and operations expert with heart at the centre of everything she does.
Honestly, I think it's just about being a good person. Like, I think being kind and compassionate and doing more than the right thing.
Her career spans hospitality and financial services, shaped by lived experiences of burnout, rebuilding and redefining what leadership really looks like. Today, she's known for creating people-first workplaces, high-performing teams, and cultures where kindness and ambition can coexist.
It's really important for me to be authentic and to be congruent. So I would never say to somebody, this is expected of you and not expected of myself.
A proud stepmom and self-described sausage dog mama, Anna brings honesty, humour and humanity into conversations that are often left unspoken.
One of the first pieces of feedback I received, which happened to be the title of one of my keynotes recently, was "You're underwhelming, underqualified and really fucking annoying."
Wow.
Wow, what, from like a senior person as well?
Yeah, so I would have been 22, so it kind of set me on my rebellious path of being like, do you know what, I'll show you.
From burnout and belonging to motherhood, ambition and choosing your own definition of success.
In this episode, Anna shares her journey of resilience, values-led leadership, and why embracing the fullness of who you are isn't a weakness, it's your greatest strength.
Thank you so much for joining us as a guest on this podcast. It's really exciting to have you here.
Thanks.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to start off by giving us a little introduction to who you are and what you do and what lights you up?
Yeah, so my name's Anna and I am an ex-MD turned head of operations in January. So that's really exciting. I have a really strong ethos of people first. I used to work in hospitality. I had an amazing career there where I was like a brand ambassador. So I would be sent to struggling sites or new sites and I would be improving them or shutting them down if that was necessary. And we never had to do it, so that was really good. And I just absolutely loved working with and for people. And I think that's kind of where it all started for me in terms of my belief that people mattered most. I kind of found that every time I went into a restaurant, the issue and the solution was always the people. So I think I learned from a very young age, because I was only about 21 when all that was happening, a really young age where I kind of thought, you know what, this is the way to do things, and leading with compassion in everything that you do. So I kind of did that. And now I focus hugely in the businesses that I work in. I also coach and consult on businesses as well from an operational perspective, and just really focus on how can we get your people happy, healthy and loving what they do. I think that's like the key to any happy business really, is just making sure your people are well looked after and happy. And that's my jam.
Amazing. And then what's your sort of career progression been like? So you were your ex-MD, so how did you kind of get to that level? What did that journey look like?
I joined the business as T-girl. Is essentially what the job title was. It wasn't really a formal title. I was asked to come in just a couple of days a week to make tea, do basic scanning, not to see or look at or talk to a client to begin with. I think there was a bit of apprehension of me being totally new in the industry. So I kind of just went through the business through there. So I was told within about 6 months of joining that I needed to be a financial planner within 3 years. And I kind of wasn't sure that it was a route for me, but I also didn't have a career path, so I thought maybe I'll give it a go. Failed my first exam, which is the first and only exam I've ever failed in my life, and I was like, this is definitely a sign that
it's not for me.
And I tried really hard as well. I was studying every day, so I was just like, I just don't think that it's the right path for me. They kind of doubled down and they're like, no, you will continue on this path, like it's going to be fine. And then I was kind of secretly in the background making little lists of things that I'd seen in the business that I didn't think were quite consistent. So I was noticing that the clients' experience when they came in, the rooms were full of laughter and everyone was hugs and kisses and hello, how have you been? And I wasn't seeing that represented in the marketing and other things that were going on. So I kind of started making this little internal list of things that I felt could be improved, and eventually just started making documents and doing a website design and stuff.
Operations person at heart, really.
Yeah, I think so. I was the kid organising my folders and my toys into categories like from birth. So yeah, very much so. So I kind of started doing that and then eventually showed them what I'd been working on. And I kind of said like, this is an amazing business full of heart, but your website kind of looks like a funeral director's. Like that was kind of the vibe about like 12 years ago. It was very like black and white and the stones laid up on each other. So I kind of just started to pick up on things like that. So they moved me into marketing to kind of hone in on the creative side of my skills. And then just the more exposed to the business I became, the more kind of times I was putting my hand up and saying, oh, what about this? Have you tried that? And then it got to the point where the business was growing and they needed a practice manager. And it naturally kind of fell to me, is that something you'd want to do? Because I had so much HR and people experience from hospitality. So I think it was kind of like ignored for a long time. And then all of a sudden it's like, actually,
we might be able to use this.
You're the only person that can do that. So that's kind of the path that I took. And we went through an amazing journey with that. I was in operations for about eight years, financial services operations. And then last year was promoted to managing director.
Wow.
Which was amazing. That was like a really beautiful journey to go on. And then it just felt like the right time for me internally. I'd been doing a lot of keynote speaking, like speaking of my journey. And I had a really significant moment where I stepped off a stage and I felt myself disconnect from that version of myself. It was a really weird, I'm not very spiritual, but it was a very odd moment where I just went,
I'm done
now. I'm done with that. And that kind of started me thinking of what's next. And that's how I ended up kind of securing my next post as a head of operations in a kind of relatively startup firm, which I'm really excited about. And I get to continue to do the coaching and consultancy work that I absolutely love doing as well.
Amazing.
That's great.
Wow, great. That's an exciting career path. Yeah. And I like the message in that of like, if you spot something, almost don't ignore it. You know, come with the ideas, make your list, see what you can improve, and then show what you can improve. Like show your worth and show the impact that you can make.
Kind of. My mindset was I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. So I'm going to make my suggestions, and if they go you've overstepped, I go, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I've overstepped.
It's the best way to be. Always ask for forgiveness rather than permission. I absolutely agree with that.
Have you experienced any challenges in that sort of career journey at all?
Yeah, hugely. So I put up a post on LinkedIn actually fairly recently about all the reasons why I could, if I wanted to, not be people first. I've probably had every HR challenge that you can imagine in that time. When I first joined the business and the team was growing, I definitely experienced a lot of isolation, so intentional isolation as well. I think because my dad was one of the founders and I had no previous experience, there was definitely this undertone of you're here because of that, kind of the whole Nepo baby thing. And I was like, well, he's not David Beckham. Like I've not inherited like huge amounts of fame. Like I'm just a tea-girl in this business, you know, trying to do my best. So I experienced a lot of that, which was really challenging. And then as I kind of progressed through the different routes that I was doing, it was really when I stepped into practice management, we experienced a lot of HR problems to the point where even our external people were like, this is really unprecedented. Like we don't see this often. So we had some real challenges of situations where you go above and beyond and support a person, and then their response to that is to actually try and turn all of those things against you and say, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that to staff members. So we had a huge cultural reset in the business. I can't remember when it was. It would have been about probably when I was stepping into the practice manager role, and there was a lot of change, and it went from a team of like 12 to 13 down to a team of 4, which was the 2 founders, myself and someone else that was I think he was the managing director at the time. So, and some of those people left on their own accord, some there was just the wrong fit, and some people were genuinely asked to leave because it was just like, you know, this isn't working. So we went through quite a lot of challenges with that, and because there was a family connection, there was a lot of things that were said or questions of professionalism brought up of like how professional can you actually be, how you bias, it's your family business and things like that, whereas I was the only person actually trained to handle some of these things.
Wow,
so in a small business you do end up having to do things that are quite uncomfortable, so even challenging members of staff in like disciplinary hearings when they were happening, I'm often asking them about things I've found on their computer that they've said about me.
Wow.
So there's a real difficulty in trying to put that aside and remain neutral. And you can argue, is it appropriate? But in a small business, you can't always afford to outsource it. You can't afford to bring somebody in, update them and everything and things like that. So there's been a lot of challenges that are mainly to do with people. But I kind of still was steadfast in the right people wouldn't do this. It wouldn't be this way. So I think it more cemented to me that actually I need to prove that my values are strong to withstand this. So yeah, lots of challenges actually.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like there's been a huge sort of shift and change that's gone on there. And what about for you personally, through sort of creating a career and progressing? Like, have you had any personal challenges or setbacks at all?
Loads. Loads. My friends always joke that I could start a bottled water company because the amount of tears that I've shed over the years. I'm very I let it out. It's fine. It's
good to let it out.
It is good to let it out. It's very I think it's very soothing to actually have a good cry. Yes, lots of challenges. I've had a lot of personal challenges in terms of my mental health. So I live with bipolar disorder, which is a mood disorder. So that's very difficult to navigate and manage. So I'm medicated for that to help me sleep, which helps keep me kind of on top of everything. That's been a huge challenge because I was only diagnosed with that about 5 or 6 years ago. So I was having really late. With as always with these things with women, often we're later diagnosed.
We hide things well, don't we?
Yeah, high masking, high functioning doesn't mean you're low suffering, but you're still going through it. So we had that, and then I think that my husband and I had such a difficult time trying to become a unit while I have my stepdaughter as well. So that was personally, I was navigating a lot of challenges at work at times of really high stress at home as well. And then we got married in October 2020. So we had a lockdown wedding, which I was really happy about because I'm not a big fuss kind of girl. So when they were like, you're allowed
max
15,
30.
It was 15. And then
sorry, you can't come.
No, it was the best. And then we also had, within that 15, included the registrars and the photographer. So it ended up only being 12 people. So of our family. So it was amazing. Loved that. But about 3 weeks after we got married, he ended up in hospital really poorly because he had ulcerative colitis, which is an inflammatory bowel disease. Obviously, 3 weeks married, in hospital, couldn't see him. I couldn't see my own family because obviously everyone was locked down. So we had a lot of challenges quite early on. We've only been together 8 years, so we had a lot go on very early. We can kind of say we've almost experienced a lifetime worth of challenges really quickly. Trying to navigate all of that whilst trying to also be for my team an anchor and somebody that they can lean on. So it's been really difficult to where do I anchor to so that I can then be that for other people. And at times I've kind of not got the balance quite right, and probably given too much to the team and I kind of neglected that for myself, but it's all part of the journey. And I think now I really know who and where to anchor myself so that I can then step into those situations with much more calm and clarity than I had before.
It's a really interesting thing about leadership, generally, is that you have to help other people and support other people, and they might come to you with challenges in work, but also they might come to you with their own personal challenges, and you do have to kind of put aside what you're dealing with to help and support them. But then where's like you say, where's your outlet? Where's your release? And that must have been quite hard for you with your husband being in hospital and you're kind of carrying all the pressure and probably quite lonely as well.
Yeah, it was. And I really believe in service in leadership. So you then kind of need to try and find who's going to help do that for you, because you quite often, in my experience in operation roles, you can't always rely upwards for that support. You've normally been employed because the people in those positions need someone to deliver that. So it's a very isolating role, or it can be in operations as well. Particularly during that time in lockdown, I found that when we started to get the restrictions lifted, I became quite anxious about reintegrating into the world. And I think I experienced empathic burnout because my team were relying so heavily on me in ways that they would normally have gone to the pub and seen their friends and spoken to. Or
you become their sounding board.
I became everything. So, and because I wanted to support them, I did everything I could. And then I just remember afterwards just feeling totally exhausted. And I know that lots of people were working in horrific environments, nurses, doctors and all of that. So in comparison is nothing. But I do remember feeling like I was just completely stripped of everything that I had left to give. So I really struggled to kind of reintegrate back into the world when everything lifted.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Oh, crikey. What habits or routines now help you sustain your performance without burning out? What, from that experience that you learned, what do you now think, right, these are my boundaries, these are my rules, this is for me now?
Yeah, so I think that when I worked in hospitality, I was young enough that I said yes to everything because I thought that's what meant I would be valued. And I learned from there, because I had a case of extreme burnout. I collapsed at work one day, was in hospital for a couple of weeks. No one could really quite work out what it was. And they just said it's just exhaustion. I was working like 60, 70-hour weeks.
Were you on your feet? Tough industry, hospitality.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you just collapsed.
Just literally collapsed. I didn't even feel unwell. my body just went. So that took a long time to recover from. And then obviously being diagnosed with bipolar, medication for me is something that forms part of my self-care. It took me a really long time to accept that actually taking that medication was something that I was doing to support myself. There's a lot of shame around that sort of thing. So my medication hugely helps, because it helps me to ensure I get the sleep that I need.
Which is so important.
So important. But when you have bipolar, it's very common to sleep 2-3 hours a night. And that's
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. I would not survive.
Is there any like science to like? Is there any reason for that? Is it just because like your brain just keeps you awake? Or
I'm not actually sure. I haven't looked into it. I just know that was just what my life was, and it's. I think it's like the mood shifts. A lot of the time, I was experiencing rapid cycling moods. So a lot of people have a long stint of depression followed by a very short stint of hypermania, where they're super creative. And I have bipolar type 2, so I'm very fortunate that I don't have hearing voices or paranoia or anything like that. But mine were rapid cycling, so they just continued to go and go and go, whereas some people get a bit of a sustained break. And also I was in a highly stressful environment at home with the things we were experiencing with my stepdaughter. So that was constantly keeping my stress levels up, which then was keeping the manic episodes up and all things like that. So I really learned that the medication was important. I always have a therapist and I always have a coach, because I think that the two are needed in combination. The therapist helps you to understand why you're doing what you're doing, and the coach helps you to move forward from where you're at.
That's a great mindset to have.
Yeah. And I go to the gym. That's a non-negotiable for me. I'm just a nicer person if I exercise, just generally. I have a sausage dog. I walk her every day. That's really important to me. And actually my biggest thing that I do to keep myself well is working in blocks rather than in the traditional working 9 till 5. I do a couple of hours, take a break to walk the dog, do another couple of hours. And I find that helps to keep me motivated. I can concentrate for longer. I think that we have I only check my emails once a day.
Yeah,
crikey, that's dedication. I'm terrible with me. I'm like, no, what's going on? Constantly.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot to say for that working in blocks, because you're then like hyper focusing almost on like what you need to achieve in that time, and then you take your break, clear your mind, go for a walk.
It's really, really good advice for people as well.
Yeah, the email thing is huge as well, right? Because I think we think that answering an email within like 2.3 seconds of receiving it means you're being productive.
Yeah.
But what I said to my team in my previous business is, if you imagine that you were on a plane and there's somebody sitting in a control center and they've got no windows and they're responsible for landing your flight, and every 2 seconds they're checking their phone to check an email, how comfortable would you feel that person was doing that?
Not very.
Yeah. Right. And in finance, we're dealing with huge sums of money, really important things for people. How comfortable would the client be if they knew that you were constantly distracted? Yeah. So that's kind of where the mindset comes from, is actually you're doing your clients a disservice by being constantly available.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And yourself.
Yeah. We live in this urgency culture, don't we, where we just think that everything has to be now. Like, I won't open a WhatsApp message until I know I'm in a place that I can answer it.
I've done that. I mean, there's an accidental boundary that I've kind of put in place, really, but I've tried to really detach myself from feeling like I have to reply to everyone all the time. So my friends now are like used to the fact it might take me a week to reply sometimes. Like, I just don't sometimes have the headspace for it, and you just don't. Like, you don't have to be available all the time to everyone.
Yeah. I saw something recently that said, don't mistake someone's free time as their availability.
So
Very true.
And we said before, didn't we, that so many more people should have a therapist and a coach, because we all go to the gym, or lots of us do, and we know like how good it is to physically work out and physically improve your well-being. But actually, why shouldn't you have that for your mental, your brain as well? Improving yourself and helping you cope with things.
Yeah, and also if the physical gets taken away, how do you stay well?
Well, yeah, that's so true.
What's been 1 or 2 defining moments in your professional journey so far, would you say?
Am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the first pieces of feedback I received, which happened to be the title of one of my keynotes recently, was "You're underwhelming, underqualified, and really fucking annoying."
Wow.
Wow. What, from like a senior person as well?
Yeah.
Did you punch them?
I
would have punched them.
I think I cried in the toilets for about an hour.
Oh, bless you.
I called my mum, so I would have been 22.
Oh,
That's
no.
awful.
Yeah.
What sort of nasty person says something like that?
Was it a man?
Yes, I kind of love it now though. Like it's given, like it kind of feels really empowering to kind of use that as a title for a keynote and be like, look what I've achieved.
Through you.
Yeah. And I used it as motivation to be successful without the traditional route of the qualifications that are required in the industry. So it kind of set me on my like rebellious path of being like, do you know what? I'll show you. And I cried a lot, which I think is normal. I called my mum. I don't think she understood a word that I was saying because I was like hyperventilating. And I remember spending like the rest of the day Googling how to be a surrogate mum to orangutans in Borneo because I was like, I'm out of here. Like I am done. And then I was like, do you know what? This is just that person's opinion in a snapshot of time. It's not a life sentence. I don't have to absorb that for the rest of my life. And actually, it doesn't matter if that's what they think. It doesn't define me. I don't have to attach to that. And that kind of really set me on my path, like I said, of wanting to be successful without having to tick the traditional boxes.
Yeah.
I never really felt when I stepped into the industry that it was a space that was made for somebody like me. I was asked to cover up my tattoos, asked to take out my facial piercings. And I can kind of understand at the time it was quite uncommon, but it really slowly like eroded parts of me away. Yeah. And I think I was less happy, I was less creative. So I think that it's allowed me, that's really encouraged me to kind of step into my own power and be like, I'm going to show up as myself. And I'll either be accepted or I won't.
And you're fine with that.
Yeah, and if I'm not, then this isn't the space for me to be in. So I think that's been a huge one, really.
Learning to be authentic.
But it's so good of you to be able at such a young age to think that, because lots of people take years to get to that point of thinking, no, I'm going to be me and I'm going to,
especially when you've had such brutal feedback.
That could really like knock somebody for years.
Yeah.
So you've got a great brain to be able to go, screw that, I'm not letting that get to me.
Yeah. And I think I didn't really respect the person that said it. So I think that helped with it not landing.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you, it's not like I'd been trained. I just was like, do you know what? I'm just not going to let it define me. Yeah.
And then I guess as like your career's gone on and you've progressed through life and you've clearly learned that actually showing up as yourself and having your values and leading with what you think is right actually is good, and it gets you places, and you don't have to pretend to be something for someone else just to fit someone else's
agenda.
Yeah.
Of like what they think is right and comfortable.
Yeah. And now actually if I go to an event, someone will be like, your tattoos aren't out. And I'm like, oh yeah, and they're like, oh.
So they now expect you to
and
be
now
like
it's really interesting to see who actually recognises me without them as well.
Yeah.
It's become a thing that people just know me for it, so, and I've met other people in the industry now that are also covered in tattoos, or
so many people are they today, aren't they? It's part of people's character now, isn't it? My son's covered in tattoos, he's got them all over himself, isn't he?
But there was, and it is actually great, some of that change that's happened, because there was a time when people did feel like they couldn't get tattoos, or certainly couldn't get tattoos in certain places,
or like not too far below the arm,
exactly right, not
stuff like that.
Make sure you can cover them up type thing, otherwise you'll struggle with your career, which is crazy. So it's actually great that, I think there's still a lot to do, but it's great that some people feel like they can now be themselves, who they want to be.
Were there moments where you felt you had to play the game to get ahead, and how do you feel about that now, if you did?
No. Maybe I had an awareness that if I'd played the game, it would have been easier for me. My husband tells me I'm too honest for business. I can't do it. I can't. There's a difference between playing the long game of being like, I'm going to see this out and try and get an outcome for myself. But I don't think I've ever, if I'd played the game, I'd be a qualified financial planner by now.
And you probably would be wearing something totally different.
It just doesn't, it's not something that sits right with me generally. I just wouldn't be. I think I really struggle to be anything other than myself. And I've been honest in negotiations about salary and different things and expectations and what I want. And it's the only way I know how to be. So I don't think I could have been successful if I'd been playing the game, because I'd be being somebody else and it just wouldn't have.
It's very unhappy.
It's disingenuous as well, isn't it? You don't I always say that I'm quite an honest person, and people don't always like to hear honesty. And I can be quite sort of not brutal, but some people might say, oh God, you're so direct with what you say at times. And I'm
I think for people pleasers,
being honest, it's just the way
I'm a bit
I
of
am.
a people pleaser.
Yeah,
it's
she's
really
a
bad. So for a
people pleaser.
people pleaser. There we go. It can be uncomfortable sometimes. It's not in a mean way, but you're being honest, and it's a good thing, like to give that feedback or whatever it is in the right way. But I think for people pleasers, they're like, you probably brush over certain things, that you shouldn't.
Yeah. So we'll be in a situation and I'll say something or do something, and she's like, oh my God, why did you say that, Mum? I'm like, what? I'm just being honest.
That's
just like,
me when
my
mum complains at a restaurant. I'm like, no.
Stop. Please don't.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to be quite confronting with things. I think there's a difference between being like brutally honest to being happy to have a confrontation. And I mean, I can only speak for what I think has happened in my teams. But my experience has been, because my team know that I lead with compassion and kindness and understanding, if I do need to confront them on anything,
with care.
It's with care.
Yeah.
And it's with psychological safety, which I think is really, really important. So I couldn't play the game, because then I couldn't be providing that safety for them so that we can have these open conversations. So it's really important for me for everybody to feel safe and accepted as who they are.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you can't meet each other with emotional honesty, then it's going to be really difficult to move forward. I mean, we work together all the time. So I'm quite comfortable with having a difficult conversation. I'm also very happy in a silence.
Yeah.
A lot of people overtalk when things are difficult.
I love silence.
Yeah. Silence is so good for when things are difficult, because sometimes you have to let somebody sit in the discomfort of what's going on as well. We're really quick to rescue people, and sometimes actually
that's very true.
You see it with people with their children all the time. They try and find a way to fix the problem. Actually, children need to learn that it's uncomfortable to upset somebody, or you hit someone with that Lego brick and you're going to cry if you get told off.
This, where it's like you don't have. I can't remember it exactly now, but it's something like you don't have to make your children happy all the time. Like actually, they need to learn how to not be happy, because that builds the resilience that we need. Because we don't all go through life being happy with everything. No. So don't always try and fix it. And it really. Your child might come home from school one day and they say something's happened and they're upset, and then you're like, oh, I'm really sorry you're upset, let's do this to make you happy, or let's talk about this. Whereas actually it's having the harder conversations with letting them recognise that made them feel upset, but to get comfortable about the fact that it made them upset and find a way to move on from it. It's quite I don't think many people think about that. So
sitting in the discomfort, but with the aftercare is really important.
The two together,
especially with children. I think I grew up with a mum that was like, when I said no, she's like, well, what did you do?
You might have done something.
So it was never a free pass. You never just got a cuddle. That sounds terrible. It was like, come on, we need a bit more information before we can make an assessment of whether you deserve a cuddle or not.
I love that. You've spoken quite a lot about people first and building trust within a team. So what have you learned from negative experiences around culture, about the culture that you want to build in businesses and in teams?
I witnessed in my previous role, the time that I was there, things being done. So let me get my words right. Most business owners I know are hugely kind and they want the best for people. But they are shit people. So most of them will, without a properly trained leader, will be very kind and understanding to a point, and then one day that thing that someone's been asking for is now no longer okay, because they're like, no, you're taking the piss and I don't want to give you that anymore. And then the person sits there and like, but it's been fine for 18 months, why isn't it fine now?
Yeah.
So I think I witnessed a lot of that happening, where there was consideration given to an individual, but without a boundary in place for that individual to know where the line stopped with what they were asking for. So I recognised quite early on that the business needed a set of boundaries around, so like your policies aren't in place to trip people up. They're in place so everybody on each side can understand what's appropriate and what's an okay way to behave, and what's expected of them, which is really important. So I think I identified in the business that there was a massive amount of kindness, but a real lack of understanding of what that looks like when you're dealing with lots of people. And it happens when businesses just happen to accidentally grow as well. So I think I witnessed that happening. I saw what I thought was bad recruitment, and then I was in the room where the recruitment was happening, and I was like, yeah, this is bad recruitment. One instance was somebody spoke at the candidate for an hour and a half.
Oh.
And then when they left, they're like, oh, they were great, we should employ them. And I'm like, we don't know them.
You know nothing about them.
Like, I know his name.
You like them because they let you talk.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I witnessed all of that. And then I kind of started to try and set about some winds of change. And we had a graduate that handed in his notice, and he said to me in his exit interview, I see what you're doing here, but it's too late for me. Like, the damage has been done. And it really broke my heart. I really hated, because I felt like he would take what's happened to him into every role going forward from that moment, because we carry those scars with us. Because I always say, as a business and as leaders, you have to generously and freely give your trust, but you have to earn it from your employees. And we really failed him. And I kind of took that and thought, you know what, I never want somebody to sit in front of me again and say something like that. And that kind of set me on the path of being like, no, do you know what we've been doing hasn't worked. I'm going to build an absolute killer employee proposition, make sure we've got like benefits coming out of our ears. And I want to build an environment where each individual is treated as such, but with the appropriate boundaries around it, that we can keep everybody happy and everything was
business
appropriate.
Growing and
So I think that was a real turning point for me, having that conversation. I was already on the path of wanting to create that, and then that was the thing that really changed it for me. So I even set about doing things differently in recruitment. I was speaking with one candidate who was trembling, and I felt uncomfortable. Like, I did everything I could. We always say that our interviews are conversations, not interrogations, and we send them a well-being pack to say, like, this is the things that we're going to be looking to talk to you about. We want to hear your story. And she just could not get a handle on herself. So I said to her, let's just go for a walk. Let's just have a chat and go for a walk around the block. And she wasn't somebody that we hired, but it was because it wasn't quite the right fit at the right time. But I got the most amazing bouquet of flowers sent from her and a thank you card, because she was like, you just made me feel so at ease. And it didn't cost me anything. So yeah, I think that experience with the graduate really made me go, balls in.
Got to sort this out.
I'm gonna.
Yeah. It's interesting what you say about the recruitment as well, because I saw the recruitment video that you created and I loved that. I literally remember watching it and thinking, if I didn't do what I did, like, that's the sort of company I'd want to go work for, because you could just see the culture.
I actually dreamt that script. I literally woke up the next morning. I said to my husband, don't think that I've gone crazy, but
I've got it.
This is like an idea that I dreamt. I almost like visualised the whole thing in my dream, really weird, and woke up, wrote the script frantically on a notepad. And then, and we worked with an amazing videographer, and I was just so fortunate the team was so like up for it.
It was so good.
Yeah. I think it's probably one of my like favourite memories of working there. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. And how do you hold yourself accountable for the culture that you shape?
Oh, I think that, that's a really good question. I'm trying to get my words together. I think that I just am. So like, I think it's so important to embody what you're trying to build. So it's really important for me to be authentic and to be congruent. So I would never say to somebody, this is expected of you and not expected of myself.
Yeah.
I think that I lead, like I said, I believe in service and leadership. So I would bend over backwards for anybody in my team. I think that I would never ask anybody to do something I wouldn't do myself. I make sure that I am trained in anything that we're choosing to implement from a culture or like leadership point of view, I make sure that I am an expert in what I'm asking them to do. But honestly, I think it's just about being a good person. Like, I think being kind and compassionate and doing more than the right thing, going the next step from the right thing is what's really important for me. And I think that one of the ways that I hold myself accountable to maintaining the culture of trust that we've built is to always ask myself why. If something isn't working or something's going wrong, my first question to myself is, why is this happening?
Yeah.
What led to this? Why did they say that? And I think it allows you to step into each situation open-minded. And I think that's the most thing that you can be when you're trying to... I don't even think it's building a culture, because I think the culture builds itself if everybody's showing up against the values that have been set, because they are values they hold within themselves, because we all have our own personal values and they may differ slightly from the business's values. But I think that it's also within the team that I had, I didn't decide on our core values. I didn't just walk away, shut myself off for 5 hours and go, now I've decided this is what it is. We had meetings and we chatted about things and we were like, what's important to you? So in my last business, I was really fortunate in that we had a team who showed me what our values should be.
Yeah.
And that was in alignment with how I believed a business should be run.
Yeah, that's great.
And the new business that I'm moving into, when I was at the point where I was like thinking of making the transition and I was having a bit of a wobble, and I was like, oh, no one's going to want me outside of the family business. Like, maybe my impact is only within there. I went onto their website and the first core value that came up was do what's right, not what's easy.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, now I've got to do it, because it's like, and they were pretty much the only business that I thought I would want to work with.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot to say for values as well, especially when it comes to culture, because you're absolutely right. Someone isn't necessarily a bad person, but if they don't share the same values, then that's going to make the culture start tipping in certain ways just because they value different things.
Yeah. And I think a lot of companies make the mistake when you've got an existing team and you need a bit of a refresh, because our old values used to be accountability, and I was like, oh, I bloody hope so. I bloody hope as a business you're accountable. What does that actually mean? So we ended up with more like statements as values. So lead with kindness, people matter most, never stop learning, and no stress, just pain-free financial planning. And so it became more, these are like a cultural mission rather than just a word that actually any good business should be like teamwork. I kind of expect you to do those things. So we had that, and then from that point on I was able to recruit based on people evidencing those values to me in various different ways. So that was really important, because we worked with an amazing recruiter who basically anyone in front of me by that point I knew could do the job. It was more just that cultural fit, the gut check. And people don't rely on the gut check enough. People think it sounds hippy dippy, but actually the science shows us that there's as many cells in our gut as there is in our brain, and they talk
gut
to each other.
Always right.
Yeah, always, absolutely. Always. And women's nutrition as well. Like we know when that tingle goes, you're like, not sure. So yeah, it's been a huge honour to be able to work with a team to deliver values that we then get to recruit based on.
Amazing.
So when did you become a mother, and how did that fit in and change how you saw yourself?
Yeah, so it's an odd one. So I always say that Lacey decided when I became a mother. So I came into Lacey's life when she was 7. I was 25. I'd actually met her dad 2 years prior, but at 23, I was like, I don't know that I can take on that kind of commitment and responsibility. I think I had a lot of growing up to do. My dad was also very poorly at the time, so I just had so much going on, and it just felt so overwhelming to think of being responsible for, at that time, a 5-year-old. So met Lacey when she was 7, and her dad and I moved pretty quickly. I think we both kind of made the commitment to each other as saying we're either in it or we're not. There's a little person at stake here. So we're either going to go for it and we're really going to go for it, or we need to take things super slow and perhaps just not even actually integrate in that sense at all.
Very responsible.
I think I was just terrified. And Lacey, being the way that she is, just accepted me in an instant. She was incredible. I can still remember the first time that we sat watching a film, because that's how she wanted to meet me, wanted us to watch her favourite film. She hugged me and she was like stroking my arm. Don't like how you reassure. And I was like, why is this 7-year-old reassuring me? Like, what is going on? So she was just incredibly accepting and so open and kind, and I fell in love in an instant.
Oh, that's
like
so
honestly,
sweet.
It was like love at first sight. I was just like, this child is she's delicious, and she still is. She's 15 now.
Wow.
Lives with us permanently now, and yeah, she's just amazing. But I think that we moved in together quite quickly. Then we bought our first house together within a year of being together. So I think that I stepped into parenting because it was really important to me. Once we bought our house together, I was like, actually, I kind of do want to say of what happens in my house. When we were in the flat, I was a little bit more kind of kept back a little bit and didn't say much. And Lacey's never been naughty. It's never been anything like that. But I was kind of more like, well, if it's going to be a family home, like I kind of want to be involved in what that looks like. And then one day she made a comment about me being her smummer. And I was like, a smummer? I was like, what is this? And she was like, well, it's like stepmum, but mama. And I was like, oh, okay, that's really cute. So that was kind of for me a real shift, that she was kind of seeing me in that light.
Yeah.
And then I think about 3 years ago, I had a chat with her where I just said, how would she feel about if someone asks me going forward that I can just say I've got a daughter, or that Dan and I have a daughter? Because it always felt like I was taking something away from it by going, oh, stepdaughter.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't really feel like it fit with how I felt towards her.
Yeah.
So, and she literally burst into tears and, was like, yeah, I'd love that. So that's kind of been my journey into becoming her mother in a step parenting capacity. And it was a real struggle because I don't have my own children. So there is a difficulty in, are we going to have children? What's that going to look like if we then bring in another child into this situation? And as it turned out, Dan and I weren't able to conceive naturally, and it was unlikely that IVF would support it. So we went through a real journey of all of that. So that was another thing that we kind of dealt with, like personally as a struggle. And I think that I lost a lot of my confidence when I became her stepmom, because I started second guessing everything I was doing, because all of a sudden I felt really responsible.
Yeah.
And I was concerned constantly am I being watched? Am I doing things that are going to impact her for the rest of her life? So I think it made me feel so much more self-conscious of what I was saying about myself, of how I was presenting myself. I just felt this wild responsibility, and it kind of felt more because she wasn't mine.
Yeah, I can imagine. I always wonder that with step parents. I can imagine, especially in those early days, how hard it must be to kind of decide, how much you lean into being a parent, or do you try to be their friend, or do you help put boundaries in place, or do you not? And where do you stand in that dynamic? And is it something that you talk about, or does it naturally evolve?
Yeah, so I think the best advice I received from somebody that I knew as a step parent was be more cat, less dog when it comes to your stepchildren, which was really helpful. So I was definitely really keen to begin with. And I was like, no, actually I can see kind of just letting them come to you. Like everyone's got a cat. You can't force affection on the cat. They all take it when they want it.
You get the claws.
Dan and I have communicated about everything very early on. I wasn't really wanting to step into a dynamic where I didn't have a voice. I already felt a little bit unable to express the needs that I had because I was stepping into an established co-parenting relationship. I didn't want to overstep, and there's this weird expectation that's put on you. So what I find frustrating by being a step parent is that stepdads often are badged up as being the hero. Yeah. What a great guy, he stepped in, he's taken on the family. And then the stepmom is this villainous person
the witch.
Yeah. And,
I used to be a stepmom as well, to Shauna's other brother, actually. And I was very young and he was very young. So I completely empathise with you in that.
Yeah, and it's really tough. And I've experienced it a lot professionally. There's an energy shift sometimes with biological mothers when you tell them that you are a stepmother, and I can't explain it. It's not something that I don't even know if they're aware of it. but it becomes very difficult to hold a conversation or discuss if things might be a little bit challenging, because there's this natural, what's the word I'm looking for? Natural urge to protect the biological mothers united. Like you're speaking for all biological mothers. So it's been really challenging through my career, and quite often if I've managed people who are mothers, there's maybe things, if I maybe say something about, it isn't appropriate necessarily that you do that thing. So it might be in someone that we work with wanted to speak to her child when he walked home from school for the whole 30 minutes that he walked home from school. Right. And I was like, that's not really appropriate in the business for you to be on the phone for 30 minutes outside of your lunch break to be doing that. And the response I got was, well, you're not my mum, so how could you possibly understand?
Wow.
So there is sometimes that kind of backlash of, you're not a real mum.
Yeah.
But you do all the real mum things.
Yeah, and you love them just as much.
Yeah, I always say I grew in my heart. She taught me you can grow a child in your belly or you can grow them in your heart.
Yeah,
that's lovely.
Thank you. And I think that we choose to love each other, and there's this real strength in that you don't always get. Like, there's a biological wiring with with mothers and their children.
Well, yeah.
And
there's a chemical one.
Yeah. So are you okay?
Yeah, sorry, it's quite emotional.
So yeah, I can't remember what the rest of the question was. There was something about
it, I think.
If it changed things, it definitely changed me as a person. Hugely changed me as a leader. I feel like Lacey unlocked a nurturing in me that I didn't know I had, and I feel that bled into, in a positive way, my team.
Yeah.
Oh. What do you think other people often misunderstand about being a step parent, and what are those myths that you'd like to erase? I know you've just sort of touched on that a little bit.
I found the biggest challenge was the inconsistencies of having a child that doesn't live with you. So a lot of the misconception is you don't have the child full time, so it's not as hard or it's not as tiring. There is something very challenging about parenting a child where you're not in control of what's happening half the time.
Yes.
When there's a misalignment of values, misalignment of beliefs, that can be really challenging. So the child comes home and says, this is what we're doing. And you're like, oh, no, you don't really want that. So that's huge. But I think that I really struggled with the inconsistency of routine. So we used to see Lacey every other day after school when we lived closer to her school. And then when she went into secondary school, we kind of knew it was all going to have to change anyway. But unfortunately, we ended up in family court. So that was quite stressful. And then we started seeing her every other weekend. So we would have her from Friday to Monday. So there was like school to school. And what I found was both were really challenging because every other day, my day was different. And then now you establish your time, your dynamic as the two of us for 12 days. And then this other person arrives and it shifts the dynamic a little bit. And then you can fall into this trap of feeling like you want to have really amazing family memories and bonds, but not wanting to overdo it where you're like every other weekend's like a Disney weekend where everything's the best thing ever.
Of course, yeah.
So it's a real difficult balance to have. But I think that I really struggled with the inconsistencies, the changing in the routine. Like now Lacey lives with us, I am finding it so much, there's more stability and I'm finding it so much easier, more control. I know when all the washing's going to be done, I've got my routine going, but like when there's like all of a sudden an extra load and I'm like, but I wanted to do a load, and it sounds really trivial, but I think there's huge inconsistencies with being a step parent if you're not the residential
it
parent.
Can be really hard.
Emotional toll, I think,
really,
as well,
really
if
hard.
you in that, like you mentioned it there, the phase where you're only seeing her every other weekend and your values might not align with the other parenting that's going on. That must just be really emotionally challenging as well.
Yeah, I think so. And it's really difficult to, I think one of the other misconceptions as well is that I was involved somehow in the breakdown of the relationship prior. So I always find myself really, or I used to, I don't do it anymore because
explaining yourself,
over-explaining myself. Like, I just want to know that they split up when she's 18 months. Like, I came in when she was 7, like there was no crossover. I just want you all to know. And then and I was like, do you know what? It doesn't matter. Like I know what it is. So yeah, I think that's a huge thing. And then also there's the business I worked in, obviously I built the culture and benefits, so I was fine. But I know other people who don't get the same acknowledgements and time that you might get if you have a biological child as well. So I think, that it's been so challenging, and it is difficult when you can feel that kind of semi-judgment that's placed upon you. But ultimately, I know Lacey, I know myself, and I know the relationship we've built, and that kind of speaks to me more than kind of what those misjudgments
definitely
do. But it's taken a long while to kind of come to terms with that, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it's a shame really that step parents are seen as the half parent or the not a full parent, because actually you are completely a full parent. Just because you didn't biologically birth a child doesn't mean you're not a parent of that child
I don't think
anymore.
you'd say that to someone that might have adopted a child.
Exactly.
Whereas it's kind of like a similar situation, really.
And also, like, it's not the answer to infertility. So, like, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, well, but you have got Lacey," and I'm like, "It doesn't change that other thing and everything as well." So, there is that. But I don't. You'd think now with so many blended families that it would not be an issue still, but it very much is.
You touched on it before as well. As one of my questions here is, do you think step parents can face challenges in workplaces where they're not seen as real parents, particularly when it might come to things like time off or flexibility to support their children?
Yeah, I did have someone once say to me, "But she's not a dependent." And I was like, she's not a biological dependent, but she's still. I was like, my dog's a dependent.
Yeah.
Like I can't. She depends on me.
That's
so
just
therefore,
rude, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like she's just unkind. But I think it's an easy attack. Is what I would say. I think it's easy to say, well, you're not a real parent, so you don't know what it feels like. But they don't know how I feel. I know real parents that probably don't care for their children the same that I care for Lacey.
Yeah.
Like there are plenty of children looking to be adopted because their parents gave up on them or weren't able to care for them or whatever. So I don't think that any person that steps into a child's life in any capacity should be judged for it unless they're harming the child, obviously. But I think somebody that's willing to support a child in any capacity, then, and oh God, has it taught me patience. Raising a child you did not create requires so much more patience than I imagine. And I obviously would feel less comfortable with losing my cool than I would do with a biological child.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So patience.
How do you navigate a relationship with the biological mum?
So it's recently changed because Lacey moved in with us. Prior to that, it was no contact. Really difficult. I went into the relationship with Dan hugely optimistic that eventually mum would be able to call me and be like, "Anna, I'm stuck at work. Can you go get Lacey for me?" That's kind of what I was hoping for. It became very apparent very quickly that there was going to be challenges. And then it just got worse and worse. It's part of the reason why Dan ended up so poorly, because he was trying to navigate seeing Lacey, keeping things happy on that side, and then obviously me struggling in the ways that I was as well. So we had no contact. The courts basically said you can have a contact book because there was so much confrontation. And it was hugely challenging for me actually, because I'm trained in mediation, I'm a coach. I was like, I've got all the skills to be able to
make this
work, and I just can't reach that person. And things got very personal as well. So I think sometimes you either repair or you retreat, and we had to retreat. So that was really challenging. And now there's minor contact with her mum about when she may or may not be seeing Lacey. It's not what I'd hoped for at all. I think it's not what Dan hoped for either. But it became very apparent that I had to get in line for things to be okay. And I'm not someone that can just get in line. If it doesn't align with me and I don't agree with it, I can't do it.
That's fair enough. Looking back across your career and motherhood journey, what have been your biggest lessons that you've learned about yourself?
That I have so much more capacity for love than I ever believed was imaginable.
Oh, that's nice.
That's made me emotional. Yeah, I think that she burst me wide open when she came into my life. Like I could not have anticipated loving someone so much.
Oh, it's so nice.
So sweet.
And I think it made me so much more open to my team. Like I said, patience, understanding. knowing that someone chooses to love you is one of the most powerful emotions, I think. And I genuinely loved everybody in my team. So I think that before I met Lacey, I was very closed off. Like, I wasn't particularly maternal, didn't really have any drive. Watching Dan being an incredible dad made me want to be a mum.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have those drives, but I think she just completely changed the core of who I am in a way I couldn't have
anticipated.
Never have imagined. So I genuinely can't imagine what it would be like for a biological mother with all the hormones and everything else. Like, it must be so bloody overwhelming, like the love you hold for your children. So yeah, I think it burst me wide open. It actually allowed me to heal parts of myself that were needed for me to be able to step into the business in the way that was needed. I was able to heal the child and grow the adult in myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's nice.
So she's helped me hugely with that. And I think that it's genuinely a privilege to be part of her life. But it's also a privilege to be able to guide and support the people that I work with. And I honestly think that the version of me prior to Lacey just wouldn't have been capable of doing the things that I've done in the business and with my team.
So learn a lot about yourself, really, then.
Yeah, hugely.
That's amazing.
And you said something to us before, actually, and I loved it, so I wrote it down on here, that motherhood grounds you, but your ambition expands you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so there's nothing more humbling than a child, right? They very honest, especially when they're younger. But I've found that having a child in your life that relies on you to become the person that they're going to be is a huge responsibility, and it gives you focus and it pulls you back to what's important. I could easily in the past get caught up on who said what, why they said it, the way they said it, and spiral. So I think that it's really puts things into perspective, but also like the beautiful innocence of a child, of how like casual and blasé they are about things really helps to ground you as well. Lacey's now 15. I kind of missed the version of her where she hadn't been taught yet to be embarrassed about herself. So I think that's where motherhood really grounds you as well. But somebody relies on you in a way that is really important. And I think that is something that really allows you to kind of go, okay, I can't mess this up. You know, I've got this responsibility. So that's for me where it's really grounding. And then the ambition is, I actually had very little drive before I met Dan. I was passionate about the work that I did.
Yeah.
But meeting him and building a family, I was like, I need to do better for this family. I need to show Lacey that you can be anything that you want to be in the way that you want to be it. So I think that's probably where I was coming from when I was saying that, in that my ambition bleeds into allowing her to see that she can achieve as well.
Yeah.
So it does all come back. Before I had Lacey, I used to be like, oh, people always bang on about their kids. Everything comes back to the kids all the time. And you're like, what's going on?
Why are they posting another back to school photo on Instagram? That was me. And then the first day of school, I was like, oh.
Yeah. So yeah, the ambition in business, when you're working in business, in my opinion, is it's open-ended. You know, it expands you in your way. You learn things, you're exposed to things, you meet all kinds of people, you're forced to accept people as they come, you know. So I think that it's such a beautiful part of it. But I think without having your reason why and that perspective of that child that grounds you, it can become, any overused strength becomes a weakness. So too much ambition and you kind of lose why.
Yeah.
You fall into that I'll be happy when
overachieve.
Mindset.
Yeah.
Do you think women can truly have it all? And what does that sentence mean to you?
Yeah, I think when I was thinking over this question, I was like, I don't think we want to have it all. I think we just want to have the opportunity to have the life that we want and the ability to choose where we spend our time, where it's needed. I always say like work-life balance doesn't really exist. You kind of just have to be able to give what you need to where it needs it at the time. So I don't know that we're asking for it all. I think we're just being asked to, we're asking to just be left alone.
Yeah. We don't need the pressure, the expectations, the judgment.
Do you know the amount of times I've been sat down and asked when I'm planning on having maternity leave?
Wow.
And I was just like, I was just wondering what I was going to have for lunch.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got to walk to Sainsbury's after this. So I'm going to have a ready meal sandwich. What do I want to put in my body today? Like, I was like, I'm so confused. Where else in life does someone sit you down and be like, are you having sex regularly?
Yeah,
is it unprotected?
That's
like,
so
it's
bizarre,
really
isn't
bizarre.
it? Yeah, it is.
So yeah, I haven't met a woman yet that goes, oh, I just want to have it all. I think I just want a break. I just want to be able to do what I want to do in the way that I want to do it.
Yeah.
What makes me, and we just want the opportunity to do that, I think. I know that's definitely, for me, what is all? What is it all, really?
It's probably different for every single person as well. Shall I go for the final question?
Go for it.
Maybe a bit of a moving one. Years from now, when Lacey reflects on the people who shaped her, what values or lessons would you hope she connects back to you?
Okay. Cool. I think I'd hope that she's like impossibly kind right now. And I hope that I've shown her and will continue to show her that you can be kind and you can be strong.
That's great.
That's
balance.
what I want her. Yeah, that's what I want. I want her to know that you can be ambitious and you can be driven and you can be a strong woman. But the kindness is gonna be what makes you take that leap even further. For me, it's that simple.
Yeah.
You know, I just want her to stay kind. I don't want the world to harden her. I want her to see that you can go through tough things and still be soft and still be
Kindness
kind.
goes such a long way.
Yeah,
and I always say it's contagious.
That's a lovely thing to say.
Yeah. And it is. I think if you're kind, that person will remember that, they'll be kind, and then that it just like becomes a thing. Like, it is contagious. I think
it's just compassion, isn't it? It's just like, I don't think we show enough compassion when we're hurt. When someone hurts us, it's really difficult to show compassion for that person. But hurt people. You know, and I think Lacey has witnessed and also been through a hell of a lot for our family. And she is so unbelievably bright, so emotionally intelligent beyond her years, and she's impossibly kind. And I want her to know like that she can be that forever.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's all that matters. Is just knowing that she can look back at us and say, do you know what, through it all, they were kind.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that. It's very emotional.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.